The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar. How is everyone doing today? I can see a lot of people are in here already, which is great, and I can see people are still joining, so I'll just let those filter through. And while that is happening, someone let me know how their day's going. How are you doing today? What have you been up to? What is the weather like in the part of the world you're in? I am in London. It is actually quite sunny here today, surprisingly, for a February afternoon. The sun is out, the sky is blue, it's quite chilly outside, quite cold. But yeah, it's a nice looking day. How about where you guys are? Awesome. Cynthia is in sunny, beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. That sounds lovely. Dale is in Scotland and it is very cold. That does not surprise me. We have our copywriter Beth lives in Scotland and she is always saying how cold it is. Sean, all good in Florida, sunny, that's brilliant. North Wales is wonderful, David, that's excellent. Awesome, so looking like some good weather today, maybe a little bit cold up here in the UK. But the sun is out, which is good, that always makes people feel better. So hopefully, as well as the sun being out today to make you feel better, I can do the same in this webinar where I'll be going through how to build a simple website in Convertri and some of the little tips and tricks that I have to go along with that as well, from time-saving stuff or things that I think you really need to have on your website. So what I'm going to do then is I'll just give myself a quick introduction for those of you who haven't met me before, whether it be through support or the Facebook group. My name is Dan. I work here at Convertri. I've worked here for just over 2 years now. And if I just go down here, this is me. So some of you may recognize me, may have been to a webinar that I've hosted before. I haven't actually done one in a while, so it's quite nice to get back onto this again. Or some of you might have come through support and dealt with me or in the Facebook group. So if you have, then it's nice to see you here again. And if not, it is nice to meet you. So today, as I said, the topic of the webinar is website building in Convertri. So although Convertri's primary function is a funnel builder or a page builder, we do actually have website building availability as well. So you can build pages, link them up together and actually make a website. Hi Joel, thank you. It's great to be back. So the Convertri website itself, believe it or not, if we go and have a little browse around, you can see it's all functional. We've got menus with drop downs. We've got videos playing in the background, different information, a nice long page here that's telling you all about Convertri. This is actually built in Convertri. So it just shows you really that you can actually make a website, even though you might think, oh, this is more of a page builder for like landing pages, opt-in pages, or contact forms. You can actually build a multi-page website in Convertri. So it is very possible, and hopefully today we're going to get to the bottom of how you would go about doing that, how you'd start off, and some, as I say, some features that will save you time while you're doing that. So we'll kick things off then. Hi, Nicole. It's nice to see you. So just before we do so, I'm assuming that you can, but can everyone see my screen okay? And is the audio quality all right? I know people have been replying, talking in the chat, which is great, but is it an okay level? Brilliant. Thank you. I can see lots of yeses. Perfect. Great quality. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so it looks like we're good to go then. Now, one last thing before we do kick off. Of course, questions are always welcome. So if you do have any along the way, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I may not answer them straight away if I'm in the middle of like a train of thought or I'm showing something, but I'll definitely come back to them all either at the end of the segment or at the end, where we will also have a open question and answer session. So if you have any, you want to drop them down or you want to ask them, please feel free to do so. So we're going to start off then. We are in a funnel and I'm using a template, which David has said is a great template. Yeah, I think so as well, David. It is one of my favorites. It's for, as you can see, like a home repair website. So we'll take a look at the home page now, and we're going to be looking first at the menu element and how to link pages together with that. So as you saw with the Convertri website, we have that top level menu, and you can use that to actually link your pages together so that when you click on an item in the menu, that actually takes you to that new page. So you can see here I've selected the element, and this is the menu element itself. Now if we delete this like so, and we'll bring the menu element in from scratch so we can go through how you set that up, and then we'll show you how to add your links and how that actually connects the pages together. So to get your menu element, you go over to your elements tray on the left, and you'll see this 3-line option here, which is known as menu. So you can click it or drag it onto the page like so, and then you have got your menu. Now at the moment you can see it's blank, and that's because we haven't filled in any of the items. So what we need to do is add the items in the menu. Now these are going to really be the names of your pages. So let's just try and remember what we had. If I just quickly undo this to remember what was in the menu. So we've got an about page, a services, and a testimonials. So we will add the menu element now. We've got about, so all you need to do is type it in there, services and testimonials, like so. And I've missed the T there. If you want to remove an item from the list, just click the delete button here, remove. That will get rid of it, and you can then use the drag handles to resize your menu. Now if you make it smaller, it will spread onto another row like so. So you can extend it out to however long you want it to be, but the actual text itself is what is going to be clickable here. So I've got it now on the page, but as you can see, my the panel that I'm using for my header is actually black. So the menu at the moment is white, but I want to change it so that it blends in with my background panel here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my element properties, and then I'm in the menu properties. And here I can change the text color and I can change the background. So we'll start off by changing the background, and we'll move that to black. And then you can see this is actually the background of the text itself. So we'll now change the text color. And I've got this yellow here, which is saved on the styles for this particular template. And then to change the actual background of the menu itself, I can use the background tab here. And again, changing it to black so that it blends in, as you can see, like so. Now you'll notice that the font is slightly different. That's not a problem. We can change that as well. So the one I'm using here is Work Sans. So if we go to element properties again, I'm just going to remove this border width because I can see there's a border on it. And then I'm going to go to text style in menu properties, like so. And then change it to Work Sans, and we'll go bold as well so that it stands out. And as you can see, when we change that to bold, it actually resizes the menu for us so the text fits. So we can just use the drag handles again to resize it and then move it along like so. So now we need to find out how to either add more items in the list if we want to, or if we want to add a sub menu, or if we want to add links to our items. So we'll open up the element properties again, and you need to be focusing on the menu items tab for all of those things I mentioned there. Now, you'll see here we've got 3 that we added. If we wanted to add another one, we can click create. Again, if you want to add more than 4, you can click create again. So I see Gerald's asking, how do we do more than 4 items? So you just keep clicking create and it will add them. Now you'll see that nothing's been added yet in the menu itself, but if we type in some text into these items, so hello, goodbye, you can see that it's getting added as I type, and that's expanding the menu like so. Now we don't want these though, so like I say, we can remove them. Now when it comes to setting links or changing the menu type, item type to a sub menu, you just need to use this drop down here. That's then going to give you the item type. It'll be set to link by default, and you'll then be able to add your link in here. You can then choose whether or not to open this in a new tab by turning this toggle on. So now we've got the toggle on. if we click this item when the link's been set, it will open in a new tab. Now, if we want to have a submenu, we just need to click this drop down and we can go to submenu. And then essentially we've got a menu within a menu. We click add items in the submenu and it brings up the same modal where we can create or delete as we want. Now, I'm not actually going to use the submenu type on this one, so I'm going to change it back to link. But before I do that, I'll just touch on what internal link is. So this actually, if we set to internal link, it will allow you to select a target on the page. And when you click that item, it will scroll down to that point. So let's say we had this image here. If we named it in general properties, let's just say image, and then we wanted to set it so that when we click about, it goes to that part of the page, we would select internal link and then select image. And when it's then clicked, it would immediately scroll down to that point of the page. Now, again, I'm not going to use that in this example, but that is the general idea of the internal link one. So we're going to use link here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my URLs of my other published pages, which I've saved somewhere in advance of the webinar, and I'm going to copy them in like so. So this is the URL here of our published about page, and that is because I want it to go to that page when someone clicks about. Now, one thing to bear in mind is when you are going to be building out a website in Convertri and you want to have a navigation menu, which is pretty much par for the course when you're building out websites, you do need to have your pages published first so that you've got the URL to enter into this link field here. So just bear that in mind. It's always worth maybe building out your pages first and then publishing them all and then doing the menu last, or just adding the menu and not worrying about linking the pages together until you've got them all published. So don't worry about that if you're wondering how to link them all without, having created the pages or published them first. You will need to publish them. So I'll just grab the last two links for all of you to see, and then we'll go ahead and publish this page and we'll see it in action. Now, I'm going to change the testimonial one to open in new tab so we can see how that works as well. And we've done that now. The menu is there. I'll save the page and I will publish it. And if we now view the page, we can select these options. So if we click testimonials, it will open that in a new tab. If we click on services, it will remain in the same tab and it will go to that services page. Now you'll notice that we can't actually navigate back yet. And that is because we haven't set the menu links for all the other pages. So if we go to the testimonial page as well, we can't actually get back to the home page or the about page. And that is obviously quite suboptimal because we want our users to be able to move around the page freely. We don't want them to get stuck on one page. And what that means is we have to go and set the links in each page on each menu element that is within each page. Now, I'm probably going to guess what you guys are thinking right about now. That is going to take quite a lot of time, especially if I've got a large website. So for example, this one is only 4 pages, but I can imagine people might have up to say 10 pages if they want to have, say, a couple of pages spare for like covering different services. Let's say in this case here, we've got flooring, we've got plumbing, maybe we've got painting or carpentry. We might have a different page for each of those, describing what the work is that is done, giving some examples, and that's going to boost the page count up, which means we're going to have to add those menu links to quite a lot of pages. However, we do actually have a feature that will get rid of all that time that could be wasted adding the links to all of the pages, and that is our shared header and footer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through all of my pages and I'm going to delete the top panel. So that's this black panel here. And I'm then going to shift drag the whole page up like so. I'll save that. And I'll do the exact same thing for the other 3 pages. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because we don't actually need this when we're using the shared header feature. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to create one global header for the whole funnel, and we're then going to apply that to all of the pages in the funnel so that we can just set the links once and it will be applied to every page. We don't have to mess about going into each page and adding the links. So we've got one last page to do that on, and then I'll be able to show you how to set that up. And obviously, if you were using a template, you can feel free to get rid of the panels that are already there, like I've just done. And if you're building out from scratch, like I'll be showing you later on, then you won't need to worry about that. You won't need to build it. You just need to build it in the header and footer modal, which is over here. So we're in our funnel, which has got our web pages. We want the shared header feature, so we're going to go to header and footer. We're then going to go to master header and click edit. And in here, we've got a kind of mini editor where we can actually build out our master header. So we're going to drag a panel in like so, move it to the top and make it full width. And we'll drag this up to a suitable height. And then we can just drag the header up like so. So this is now the end of the header. And from here, we can build out our shared header, which will then contain our menu element. So we'll change that to black. And we're going to add our text here. So this is going to be our home repair. You know, if this was a logo, then we could do it like that. And we'll make it so it fits the font of the page as well. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to want to do is, of course, add our menu. So we'll drag that over. And like we just did, we can now add the items that we need. So in this case, we're going to want home, about, services, and testimonials. Now you'll notice that we've got an extra item in here, which is home, where we didn't have that before when we were building out the page by page menu. Now, I would always recommend having an item for each page you've got. Obviously, then you're going to set the links for each of those because this is going to be a global menu. That just means that if you're on the about page, your users will still see an option to go to the about page. But it doesn't matter because if they click it, it will just take them to the page that they're on. I don't actually think that it will actually take them I don't think it will reload the page. So we'll now go do the styling of the menu. So menu properties, we'll change the text color to match our yellow. I realized the yellow might be a little bit off from what the scheme was in the original, but that's not too much of an issue for this example. And we'll just take that border off as well. Like so. Okay, so last thing we need to do is, of course, add the all-important links. So once again, I'm going to go and get my links from my text document where I saved them all, which, I mean, that is definitely a good idea to do if you're working on a website in Convertri. Like I said, once you've published your pages, I would just make a note of your URLs, jot them down in a text file or a Word document, just so that you can easily copy and paste them all over rather than have to remember them, because it is quite a task to actually remember specific URLs, especially if, as I said earlier, you're working with a larger paged website. So we've got that now. I'm happy with that. I'm going to drag it over so it stays on one line. I'm going to save it. And if we go back now to our funnel and into our pages, you can see that we're able to turn these on in our pages so we don't have to actually build everything out again. Now to do that, you just go and open the page, go to the page menu, headers and footers, turn on the header, and hit done. And then if you get this white space, all you need to do is drag it up like so. Just hit publish. You will need to republish your pages if you are adding a header, a shared header or a shared footer. And that will then make the changes live. And you will need to do the toggle for each page. Now we are actually working on a feature that will allow you to toggle the shared header and footer on for all pages. At the moment, we've got this page by page option, which just means you have to go into each page and toggle it on. But that is still a massive time saver than having to add the menu, build it out, and do it like that in each page. So it's definitely a worthwhile feature to make the most of, particularly if you are using Convertri to build out a website with more than a couple of pages. It really is worthwhile using that shared header feature. So we'll just go through and publish these up, and then we'll be able to show you that the website itself is fully navigational, and it would be good to go if you were to publish it live as an actual website rather than this obviously being my example. Now I can see there's been a few questions about the shared header, which I will come to in a moment. We'll just show you it working in action, and then we'll discuss those before we move on to a couple of other things that I want to show you before we go into the demo. So we'll view the page. Doesn't matter that we're on the testimonials page. And as you can see here, we can now click onto all the different pages. We're on home. We can go to about, we can go from about to services. We can go back to about from there, go to testimonials. So you can see this is a fully functioning site now, and we've saved a lot of time in using that shared header feature. So I hope that was useful for everyone to see. So I'll close these tabs out now just so they don't get in the way. I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat box so we can get some of those questions answered. Okay, so I can see that Spencer's asking, if you import a website or a web page, could you copy the existing header and paste it into the master header? You can make something into, so on Convertri itself, and clone it into the shared header. So if you wanted to do that, you could make it in here and clone it in. If you're importing a page itself, as long as those elements get imported over, you can clone anything into the shared header. Yeah. So say you imported a page, and let's just say this was your header that you wanted to use as your master header. You'd just drop down, clone the element to shared header. That would clone the contained elements as well. And then when you went into the shared header, those elements would be there. So you could then use it and apply it to each of your pages rather than having to build that out again. Coach Gusty is asking, does a Convertri website have some advantage for podcasters? Obviously, the usual advantages will apply, which I can see you've touched on there before. We do have lightning fast page speed, which now page speed may seem less important on a website because it's not as conversion heavy rather than like a landing page. But I can tell you that is just not the case. It's still going to be very, very important that your loading times are super fast, because anything over really like a second and a half for loading is just going to increase the bounce rate quite a lot. So when you're using Convertri, you're not going to be having to worry about that issue. So that's obviously a main advantage for using Convertri to build out a website. In terms of specifically for podcasters, we don't offer any, we don't have any like audio file upload features at the moment. You could, of course, just link out your podcast link from your page. So you could add a button and link it to your podcast. Or if you have like a custom code that you can add on your page, you could use the custom HTML element to add a third-party feature, which potentially could allow audio to be played on the page itself. But in terms of out-of-the-box features, we haven't got any audio supporting elements at the moment, other than, of course, the video, but that would come with a video file as well. Okay, so it looks like we're good to move on then. So the next thing that I want to touch on before we get into the demo is adding privacy policies to your pages. And again, I'm going to use the shared header and footer feature, but this time I'm going to use the footer. And we're going to do it to a similar ends to add not a menu this time, but a text link or a hyperlink. And I'm going to show you how to do that because it's important to have a privacy policy of sorts when you're building out a website. You know, it's not necessarily a legal requirement depending on the area of the world you're in and your website is operating in. But to comply with GDPR, I'm pretty sure in the UK, it needs to have like a statement or a policy saying how you use the data that you're collecting. So it's a good idea. I would strongly recommend having a privacy policy on any website you build. And we'll go through how to do that now. So again, we're going to add a panel and resize it accordingly. We're going to move the footer up, and we will make the panel whatever color we want. We'll go with black again. And we're then going to add a text element in here. And this is going to be a hyperlink to our privacy policy. Now, for the sake of this demonstration, I am just going to use the Convertri privacy policy link because I don't have a privacy policy link to hand. But it will still show you the same effect of how to actually make it work. So we'll go privacy policy like so. And there is actually two ways you can go about doing this. It's completely up to you, personal preference, really. One of them is going to link out to a page where your privacy policy will be like a live page on a site. The other one is going to be allowing your users of the website you've built to download your privacy policy as like a PDF, for example. So we'll deal with the hyperlink first. So to add a hyperlink to your text, all you need to do is highlight the text itself, click on the little chain link icon here, which is our hyperlink feature, and then just add the link in like so. So I'm pretty sure Convertri's is /privacy. Let me just double check that. That's the wrong one. Privacy policy, there we go. Okay, and one thing you are going to need to do, or I would definitely recommend doing, is turning on open in a new tab for the privacy policy. Now, we touched on it a bit for menu items when you're navigating around pages, and it's important if you're wanting your users to keep all the tabs open. I would definitely turn it on, but it's not as important when they're scrolling around your website, moving from page to page. When you've got things like privacy policies, we like to call them leaky links. They're kind of links on your page where prospects can get leaked out of your funnel, out of your website, because they can end up going off into something that isn't really to do with your website or your sales process. So opening a new tab means that the tab your users are on, say it's your home page, remains open, so they don't actually forget about it. So even though they'll be open the privacy policy tab, when they close that, your home page will remain open. So that's just a bit of advice there for you. And the second way of doing this, we're going to add a button, and it's going to be downloading our privacy policy. Now you can do it with a button, a submit button. You can do it with a text as well. If we just resize the button like so, and we can change the styling, etc., so it looks a little bit better than this. But the main thing we want to change is the mode. So we'll change that to download, and here we can attach our file, and that's where you add your privacy policy. So I'm going to upload that now from my my desktop. So I'll just grab the file, and as you can see here, we select this now. So I can change the mode, as I say, to download is the important thing. I can change the label to privacy policy. I can change the text color, so I can go with that same gold style. I can change the font. Everything is customizable here. And of course, I can change the background. So if we want it to blend in, we can change it to black as well. And now both of these two elements will be clickable by anyone on the page where the shared footer is turned on. And that will either take them to the privacy policy page or it will download it for them. So we're going to turn this on just for one of the pages and show you that in action. And then after that, we are going to move on to the demo itself. Now you can see here we've already got a footer that comes with the template. So again, I'm going to delete that. And I'm just going to go to page, headers and footers, use a footer. And you can see that's been added automatically. If we now republish the page, we'll show you that in action. So if we scroll down, you can see we've got our hyperlink version, which is opening in a new tab. And we've also got our download version, which when we click it, it's going to download the privacy policy. Now, depending on the browser settings of your user, it will either do what mine has just done and open the PDF for you, or it will download it straight into their computer. And it will go to the bottom left, like I'm sure many of you have seen before. Okay, so before we get on to the demo then, where I'm going to show you how to build a simple website in Convertri from scratch, I'm going to do a couple of pages live on the demo, and I'm going to use an example that I've built out earlier. So I'm not building out 4 pages that are identical just by adding text, etc. We'll cover a few more cool things that you can do and add to your website. But we won't just repeat making pages for the sake of it. So it will be a mixture of showing you how to do that from scratch rather than with a template, and using an example, but they'll be on the same theme, so it will tie together nicely. Before we do so though, I can see I've got a question here from Nikos, who's asking if he's got his domain name, so for example www.myname.com, can he have the rest of his pages with Convertri, or should he have all the pages, the website with Convertri? So for example www.myname.convertri.com. Now, it really depends what your website has got on it, what you're using it for. If you wanted to have, say, like a blog website, you can, the recommended way to set it up would be to have your custom domain set up with WordPress, so your blog with WordPress, where you can post your articles, etc., and then have your Convertri pages on a subdomain of that. So, like you said, myname.convertri.com. It wouldn't be that; it would be www.sales.convertri.com, and that would allow you to have your Convertri pages and your blog pages on the same domain, so you're not losing any branding there, and they're linking together, and you're also not losing the speed benefits of your Convertri pages. Okay, so we're going to now go from scratch, create a new funnel, and get this website up and running. So to do this, if any of you haven't seen how to create a funnel before, maybe not, just click the Create New button. You'll see a load of different templates, but we're going to go from scratch, and we're going to call the funnel the gym website, because we're going to use the gym theme for this example, and we're just going to choose one of my subdomains, so we'll just use this one here. And as you can see, we've got a completely blank funnel where we can add different pages to it. So first thing that we're going to do is create our page. I'm actually going to go ahead and make my shared header first, and I'm going to make my menu first. I'm not going to add the links in yet, of course, because I can't, but I can go back and do that after. But what I want this for is so that I know it's done and I know what pages are going to be in my website. So that way I don't have to worry about thinking what pages I'm going to have, because I already know that from my menu. So we'll add our panel like we did before. And we'll use the full width tool, and we can go with any color scheme really. It doesn't really matter. It depends obviously on your style. Just out of interest, while I'm just doing this, and we've obviously seen this, if you could drop in the chat what kind of websites you guys have maybe been asked to build for people, or have built in the past, or are thinking about building, that'd be really interesting to see the different varying niches that we have in the chat for these type of websites. So I'm just adding the menu now. We're going to have a home page, an about page, contact, and that'll be it for this one. Awesome. I can see loads of different niches in the chat, which is great. I've got a charity website for a health niche, financial, digital downloads, hypnotherapy, fiction authors. These are some really cool niches, guys. I've never come across these before. Not during a webinar, you know. Sometimes in the support desk we might have some digital download style ones, but I've never come across hypnotherapy before. That's really cool. It's great to see so many of you guys using Convertri for loads of different niches. It's really great. So you can see here we're building out the menu like you saw. And what we can actually do as well is add an image to our shared header. So we could actually use like a logo, for example. Now you can use Pixabay or you can upload your own images as well. I'm going to use Pixabay here, so I'm just going to search for like gym logo. The Pixabay website is a great feature to make the most of. It's completely royalty free. You don't have to pay anything to use it. We have a direct integration with Pixabay, so you don't need to go to the Pixabay site, and that's included. So for example, this logo that someone's created, it can be used for free because it's on Pixabay. So once I've got that in, I can resize it and add it to my shared header. Like so. And if you want to have, you may have noticed in my other menu, we had like a mouse over effect. You can actually apply that yourself. So if you want to go to menu properties, on mouse over, you can change the text color. So we could have it to white, so that when someone's hovering over that element or that piece of text, that actually is applied to the menu as well. And we're also going to add a little bit of text here as well. And we'll call our gym. Let's think of a cool name for it. Let's go with like Fit Forever. And we'll match that up with our menu as well. Like so. And you can see I've left the border here, so I'm going to remove that quickly. And there we are. So we'll start on our first page now. It's just going to be a brief homepage, you know, a brief description of what the website is about, what the gym is about, and we'll just add some images to that, and we'll add some social share icons as well. It's something that I want to cover because it's really useful to know how to add those to your pages and how to actually make them link out to your social media channels, which of course is very important when you're building websites. So we're in our blank page here. The first thing that I want to do is I want to add my background image for my kind of hero image, really, which is just going to create a cool effect for people when they come onto the website at first. So one thing that I do want to touch on when using images, it's really helpful actually when you're building websites, if maybe you're building websites for multiple clients, because you will obviously have a lot of images you're going to be uploading and using. To make use of the folders feature that we have, you can see I've got a load of different folders here, maybe not the most organized, but it is definitely, you can definitely keep them organized if you're better at that than me. To make a new folder, you just click this blue new folder button. So for example, we can call this one gym website, and I can then actually go into the gym website and add photos in here directly. So I can either upload them or I can search Pixabay for them. So let's search for one. This looks like quite a good one. And now that's been added, if I go back to my image itself and go to home, go to my gym website, you can see that's now been added in here. So I don't have to worry about finding the images. It's neatly stored in my gym website folder. So that's quite a useful tip for you guys. So I've made the image full width here, like I've done with my panels in the past. I'm going to drag it down like so. So this is going to be our hero image, as we mentioned. And what I'm going to do to this is I'm going to add a panel over the top. Again, I'm going to make it full width, and I'm going to cover up the image completely. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of it to black. And then I'm going to turn down the opacity like so. So it's a bit transparent, and that way we can have some text over the top, which is still readable by any prospects on the page. So we'll go into that, add the text now. Now I'm going to be adding my text from a text document where my copy for the website is from. Obviously, if you're building out your pages for a client, they might have sent you over some copy that they want you to use, or maybe you've got some that you write out before you build your website and you have in a document, so you can just copy that in like so. Or if you're wanting to type it out straight out of the box, you can just add your text element and type it. That's of course not a problem as well, but for the purpose of the webinar, I think it's better for me to copy it in like I've just done, so I'm not spending loads of time trying to think about actually what I want the website to say. It's more about how to build it. So you can see we've got the text in here. I've just aligned it to center, and now I'm going to select the text element and align it to the middle of the page, like so. And as you can see, we've now got this piece of text over the top of the image that is readable because we've added that opacity layer, which is a really great technique for websites for hero images. If you look at the Convertri site on the home page, this background image has actually got an opacity layer over the top as well, so that you can read the text here. So we've added that now, and we're going to move on to a little about section. What you want to do when you're building out your pages as well is each section you want to build is you want to add a panel for it that's going to act as like a container for that section. Now, you might not necessarily want it to be this grey color, but you can actually change it to be the base white if you want it to be white. That's not a problem, and it will just look like it's not even there, as you can see. But what this does is it really helps mobilize the page as well. So one thing we haven't touched on yet that we will look at once this page is made is mobilization, because of course the mobile version of your pages is just as important as the desktop. So using panels in this way to contain all your elements is a really good way to get a good mobile version without having to make loads of edits. So we've added this section now, and we're going to have like a piece of text here that's going to say what this section is about. So let's choose our font again, and we'll just call it About Fit Forever, which is the name of the gym, the name of the website that we're building one out for. I should say this is fictional. I haven't actually got a gym that I own that I'm now building a website for, but you probably guessed that. So what we want to create here is kind of like a little section that just tells people about the company without overwhelming them. We don't want it to be a whole page of text. We'll add some images here as well, and this way people are able to just read a little bit about it. And what we're going to do as well is we'll add a contact button on here that will link out to the next to the contact page. So firstly, we'll go and get our images. Again, we're going to search Pixabay because they have some great gym images on here. And these are, again, all free to use. And Pixabay is like one of those websites that is just a go-to for creating websites, creating landing pages. You don't need to worry about image rights. You can just search within Convertri itself, and you're able to use them all for free. And we can look at the layout here, what we think's best. We might have it like this, and we'll then get one more down the bottom to go next to that boxing site. Now you'll see here I didn't actually select my gym folder when I chose the boxing image, so it's gone into my home folder. So if you're wondering where your images are, that's fine. You can move them to your folders on the left, though. That's not a problem. We won't worry about that for now. And I can see we've got some questions in the chat here. Don't worry, I will touch on those at the end. Thanks for the kind words, Gerald. Said awesome training videos. They make for a great reference. And I can just see one comment there about Pixabay, which I'll touch on now while I'm talking about it. Sandy said, can you use a Pixabay image on a page off Convertri without paying a fee? Yeah, so if you mean can you use these images without paying for them, yeah, that is exactly what I mean by royalty free. You won't actually have to pay for those images. You can use them. You don't have to have a subscription. It's included with your Convertri subscription because we are directly integrated with them. So you won't need to worry about that at all. Does that answer your question, Sandy? Just want to make sure that I've got that the right way round. Okay, and while we're just talking about that, I'll add the text in because I've got it in a text document. Like so. So you can see it's not too much. It's just a nice amount of text really that's going to tell people what it is that the website's about while not overwhelming them really, not making them feel like they're reading an essay, because that's going to be a bit of a turn off for people. And we'll make it fairly big. We don't want it to be that big. We'll go for 24. We'll expand it out a little bit like so. And we'll split that just for design purposes. Like so. And of course, you know, color scheme wise, we're going for quite an edgy, like dark scheme here. As it's a gym, the images we've chosen kind of match that as well. But you can, of course, use whatever colors you want. You do not have to feel limited to the options I'm showing you here. Of course, I'm sure that you've got your own color schemes for the websites you're building, and I definitely encourage you to experiment with those while you are building out websites. And the last section we're going to add is our testimonial site, section. This is quite an important section of any website because it's really a way of showing people that are new to your website or new to your brand or your company that you know what you're doing really, and that you have people that have already bought into whether it be your product or your service. So I would definitely recommend getting testimonials off people that maybe have used your service before or bought your products. Even if it's just, you know, 2 or 3, it's better than none. I'm going to show you just how I would go about like laying those out, and then we'll move on to the contact page on this site. So we've got our panel, we've added that here, and we're just going to now add some avatar images. Now, if you can get pictures of your testimonials users, that is great because it obviously adds a bit more of a personal touch. But if you can't, you know, searching for like an avatar on Pixabay is never a bad way to go, and you can just use one of these, and you know it's still showing that you've got people who have said good things about your business. Yet, you know, maybe they might not be the real life faces, but it's still going to have the quote on there, and you can make it look nice. You can add like a background to it, like so. You can use the border feature, turn on the radius for all corners, and make it, you know, rounded. So there isn't really like a limit to what you can do with this sort of thing. You can get creative with it and make it look how you feel your website is suited. So again, we'll add our text now. And I just remember what font I use, so it's Droid Sans. Now, one thing that is going to be really useful when you're building out sites as well is, and it's an example of what I've just shown you there. You know, I didn't have my default text style set up, so I had to change it. manually. But what you can actually do in Convertri is you can set up a default text style for your site so that whenever you add a text element, it will go to that actual font. So we were using the Droid Sans. So if we change that now and we change the font size to say 20, when we next add a text element, it will respect the style that we've done. And if we change the color as well, you'll see that we can actually have that being applied to every text element that we add. Now, you can still make individual changes to your text elements. So for example, if we wanted to add this one in, let's just say for this next testimonial, the second one, you can see that's respected our default style that we've just set up. But if we wanted to change it, maybe make it smaller or bigger, we can do so still, and we are able to do that. So we aren't locked to that style that we've set up, which is obviously brilliant. So we'll add one more image for our testimonial. And then we can go about adding finally our privacy policy at the bottom. And then we can go and build our contact page as well. Now, this website that we're building, it's going to be 3 pages. We're not going to go and build the next page. We're just going to build the contact one because it would be quite repetitive to me build out just the same sort of style of page again. So what I'll do is we'll build the contact page out because it's quite useful to see how that works and how to set up the form with the autoresponder. And then we'll use the one that I've made earlier in true Blue Peter style to show you guys how you can do that. Now, who here actually knows what Blue Peter is, just while I'm saving this page and I'm just about to add the footer? Now you can see actually briefly while we've done that, we've added the shared footer. We didn't actually build it. If you remember, we didn't build it in the master header and footer, but that doesn't matter. We can build it still on this page. If we turn it on, we can edit it and we can add the panel the same way as if we were in the master footer. And that will still allow us to edit this footer. And if we turn it on other pages, it will be applied to the page as well. So we'll go privacy policy like so. And I'm going to go for the hyperlink version because I think that one is my preferred choice. And remember, open in new tab. Okay, so we'll save that now. Before we exit, we're going to turn on our shared header, but we need to remember that we haven't actually set the menu up because we've already shown you how we do the links, and we'll show you how that in the final version that I've made, how it is all set up. So we'll turn it on like so and save it. So you can see this is a page. We've built that in about 10 minutes. It is obviously a fairly basic page, but I just want to show you how you go about adding the new sections, adding images, text, layering stuff out so that it looks fairly professional. We've got the opacity layer, which is a really cool feature, I think. And if you were to publish this, it's a nice website. It's simple, as I said, but it was done in 10 minutes. We've shown how to do that, and I think it's pretty effective for the time scale. Okay, so before we make the contact page, which will include showing how to set up a contact form, which will link to an autoresponder, I've got a few questions in here and I'm just going to read through a couple of those and cover them while we wait before we move on to the contact page. So I've got one from Cynthia who says, can the footer be varied from page to page? And she's asking size and location. Size-wise, yes, it can be as big as or small as you want it. You just need to move those drag handles up or down. In terms of location, you can set it to be at a certain location on the page rather than right below your last element, but you can't have it in the middle of your page. I wouldn't recommend that either because you want it to be at the end, but you can do that in the page settings. Michael's asking, are we the hosting site? Or do you get like a Bluehost or something like that? We do actually have our own hosting built into the app, and that comes free with your subscription. What you need to do though is host your custom domain with us. We have got a really useful guide on how to do that, which I'll be sure to drop in the chat before I end the webinar. But basically that means you're having your domain, so say www.example.com, hosted by Convertri. That's how you get the speed of Convertri. And Lane's asking, how do we set the page defaults for every page in a funnel or website? So you can't actually set them at funnel level. But if you wanted to set them for a page and then clone the page multiple times, you could say, go in here, and if we clone this page, it would respect those defaults. So you could do that before you add anything to the page. So let's say you made a new page, changed all the defaults in the page settings, and then cloned them a bunch of times. That would be respected on those different pages. And Scott's asking if there are other recorded webinars that maybe he's missed, or I think I saw a question earlier about whether this one be recorded. It is being recorded, and it will be uploaded into the knowledge base probably at the beginning of next week. And we'll get a link sent out in your emails so you can all find that nice and easily. And it will be the whole recording of the whole webinar. So no worries if you've missed any part of that. Okay, so we're going to go onto our contact page now. And what I am going to do is clone the page so that it's nice and easy. It's respected those default styles. It's got pretty much the layout I want, and I can delete anything I don't want. So we'll call that contact. And all we're going to be doing here is changing it slightly so that we've got a contact form on it. So we'll delete this about section, and we'll also delete the testimonial section. And if we turn on our header and our footer, and then if we want to drag this down a bit to reach the bottom, we'll need to move the opacity layer up first so we can access the picture, and then drag the opacity layer down like so. Like so. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to build out our contact form. So we're going to add a panel. We don't want two, we just want one. We're going to resize it like so. And I did actually see a question that I was going to get back to at the end, but I can cover it now about aligning elements. I'm not sure who posted that in. Let's see if we can find it. I can't find it in the chat there, sorry guys, but whoever did ask that question, I will touch on that now for you. So this tool here is the alignment tool. Now you may have seen me using it recently on the call, where we move things to page center. So if we select the element, hit the drop down, align to page center, that will put it in the middle of the page. Now, let's say we're building out the contact form like we are. So I'll just get on with the styles that I want. So I'm going to have this kind of opaque layer here. I'm going to add my form elements. So I'll have a first name and email name. I'm going to have a drop down to so they can select like which class they're interested in, because this is obviously a gym website. And then I'll have my submit button as well. So you can see I've added these in, but they are all a bit skew width, and it will take time. The question that I saw did say that it can take time to move those around, and that is completely true. So what we're going to do is Well, we're actually going to add our piece of text first as well, so we don't have to do the alignment multiple times. But we'll add this now quickly. We'll change it to our heading text. Okay, so a pretty basic text layer here, just letting the people know that they can book a class by filling out the form, and we'll then get back to them as soon as possible. Now, to align all of these, what we can do is select the panel, like so. We then go to our alignment tools, and we can then click Center Align, and that will put everything within the panel to the middle of it. What we can also do is we can move things around like so, and then we can select multiple elements by holding Shift and clicking them all, and we can put even amount of spacing between them by hitting Distribute vertically. You can see now we've got exactly the same amount of spacing between each of those selected elements, and we haven't had to manually change it. So I'm gonna now add my drop-down settings. I want it to be on custom, and I'm gonna add some classes. So we'll add like a personal training class, add like spinning. Oh, sorry, this is the option name, so this will be choose your class. And then we're adding options, so we'll have like spinning, personal training, dance class, and then we'll just add an other option. No worries, Spencer. It is easy. The alignment tool is really easy. It is kind of hidden away up here, so it's not the most obvious of tools, but once you know it's there, it is really easy to use. So I definitely make the most of that. Okay, so we've got our form set up. I'm just going to make sure my button saying is set to sign up this time because it's going to be signing up to a form. I'll change the label to contact us and the font just so it matches. And we can also change that background color for the button so that it matches our color scheme up there. Now to set up our form, we need to go to Forms. We can choose our autoresponder from the list. So I'm going to use MailChimp. We select our target list, which is just one that I use for examples. We then use our fields. So we're going to change our fields so that they match the ones on our page. So we've got first name, last name, email is there by default. And what we need to do now is just go and check what field we have for our drop down. Now, this is our thank you page URL. So we would add our thank you page here, but we don't actually have one at the moment. So I'm just going to put Google. But if we'd created a thank you page for our form submission and published it, you would add the link in here, similar to the menu element. So we'll check the field type, and we need to assign this a field type. And it doesn't actually matter what field type we assign. So we can assign it to address. And as long as we have address in the autoresponder field selection, like so you can see here, that information will be passed over. So Convertri doesn't actually know that it has to be an address. All it knows is that this element here, the drop down, is being assigned address. In the form setup, we've got address. So that means when it goes to MailChimp, in this case, it will be in the address box there. So we can publish that now. And we're actually not going to publish it because we're going to show you the example. But you can see that took us all of 5 minutes to make that basic contact form. And if we now go to our here's one I made earlier website, you can see that we've got a 3-page website, slightly different layout. We've got our contact form, our about page. We can navigate around like so. And we can even submit our form here. Like so. So we can add a message, we can choose our class type, hit get in touch, that will send off the form, and it will take us to what is a 404 page at the moment, but what should be a thank you page. Okay, so there you have it, guys. That is the website building demo. We'll go through the questions now. I hope that you enjoyed that and it was easy to follow. David, thank you for your kind words. Smooth, appropriate, and focused. That is really great to hear. I hope all of you are feeling the same or a similar way about that. And we'll cope with the questions now. So let's start with Dawn, who's asking, what do you do if your autoresponder is not on the list? So yeah, that's a perfectly reasonable question to ask. Maybe you're using a software that we don't integrate with. Our list of integrations can be found in Account under Integrations and the Autoresponder section here. You can see these are the ones that we have integrations with. If you're using one that isn't here, what you can do is most autoresponder services will offer like a HTML form, which is a piece of code. You can add that to your page in a HTML form. So let's go back to our example one. If we can find it. There it is, the gym website. So when we're in the form setup itself, you will see that at the bottom we have got a HTML forms option. So if we clear the form and then go to rebuild it, you can add a piece of code. So look, I've got some already here, so I'll show you it. You can add a piece of code which will be your sign up form from your autoresponder, and that will then propagate itself onto the page. Michael, following up on that, who's asking, are we paying for the autoresponder service already, or do we need a subscription? So it's not included with Convertri, the autoresponder service. You'll need to have a membership to one of those. Now, most of them are free to sign up for, but they have different levels of membership. It depends on the platform. What we do have is an in-house contact form, which when your form is submitted, you'll get an email to your own email address. So you can turn on email notifications. And if I was to do that now and the form was submitted, it would give me an email to my email address there, which would then notify me that someone has submitted my form, and I can then get back to them by getting their email from the form and replying to it, or sending out an email as a response. Okay, and one question that is really important, so thank you very much for asking that. Where has the name gone? Dawn. Thank you, Dawn, about the mobile version of the page. So I did want to cover that. So you'll notice how I built the page out here. Now, when I was building out this section, I deliberately left them open like this without panels around them, and you'll see the effect of that in a moment. So if we go to the mobile version and you look, you can see we've got this kind of staggered effect where we've got the images grouped together. You can see it here as well. And that's because we haven't really built the page out well enough. So what we need to do is contain these elements. So if we make sure we add panels surrounding them, like so this now contains those elements. We can change the background color so it's transparent. We don't need to worry about having it actually being like something that stands out on the page. But we just want to make sure it's containing these elements, which, as you can see by the fact that they've got dashed lines, it is containing them. And what will happen now is when we go over to our mobile page and hit remobilize. So if we move that around and hit remobilize all, you can see now at the bottom here, it's grouped them, and that's because we've got those panels there. So one thing to bear in mind, I did mention with whole sections, but especially subsections or items in sections, if you want things grouped together on the mobile version, use a panel to group them like so. And when you go to mobile, that will actually stop the elements themselves from being moved around. So similarly, if we were to group together these elements here, send them backwards, so they're just covering those two. We'd have to obviously make sure that we had two separate text elements like so. But if we were to do that, we go back to mobile again, you can see it's grouped them together. Does that make sense how it's done that automatically? It's grouped those elements within the panel there. I hope that is clear from that demo. We do have a great demo on building out for mobile, and which I'll drop in the chat as well. And while I am doing that, I will just make you aware of our knowledge base, which is help.convertri.com. If anyone isn't familiar with that, I'll put the link to that in the chat. But if you go into the knowledge base, we've got training webinar replays. You can see we've got some of Jane's in here. We've got ones that I've done in the past, better video, how to make the most of mobile, which is the one that I'm talking about here. And that will show you how to use mobile to your advantage, give an overview of the mobile editor so that you don't actually waste time and end up having to rebuild pages in mobile like Dawn mentioned there. So I hope that has been really useful for everyone. Like I said, thank you all for coming. It's been really great to do one of these again. I've enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed seeing so many of you in here. And thanks for engaging with me in the chat. If you have any other questions after the webinar's finished now, please email them to support@convertri.com. I'll drop that in the chat as well. Obviously, do make use of the knowledge base. It is a really good tool, and it has loads of different training videos, training documents in there. And also, if anyone here is into like Facebook groups, then we do have a group, the Convertri Clubhouse. I will drop that link in the chat as well. It has nearly 7,000 members now, current users, members of staff. I'm in there. Andy, the CEO, is in there. And we're replying to issues that people have or any questions, people interacting with each other, sharing cool things like this. And really, it's just a great place to hang out and share any questions you might have or any help you might have. I did actually see a question earlier. Someone was asking, do we have like a list of people that build websites as a service that they can reach out to? This would be the perfect place to post for that. So make sure you get in there. We'll accept all member requests the next morning, so you won't be waiting too long either. Okay, on that note then, thank you all for coming again. I hope you've enjoyed. I can see loads of thank yous in there, so you're very welcome, everyone. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you around in the support desk or in the Facebook group very, very soon. Thank you. Have a great evening and a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.